Hi, my name is Sam. I'm a high school student and a certified ethical hacker. In my opinion, emails are like cast iron pans. If you properly take care of one, it can last you forever. But you silly humans always seem to do the wrong thing. So every 2 years, you convince yourself that you're a steak chef, and you find yourself in the Costco cookware aisle, and you tell yourself, I'm actually going to take care of it this time. And the way that connects to emails is that every time you go online, you punch in your email for some sweet 10% discount on whatever capitalist excess of a gimmick that you need at the moment. And at some point, your email gets so full of junk and spam mail that you just start fresh with a new one. And your email is a private piece of information, and there's no reason why you should be receiving junk mail to win big this summer in the ultimate sweepstakes competition. Look, unlike your mom, your email just doesn't put itself out there for the rest of the world. And there's a reason why your email gets on so many junk mail lists. And I hate to sound like your ex girlfriend, but most of the time, it really is your fault. Okay, I know it's harsh, and I know you're not stupid because you clicked on this video. So I'm going to redeem you in today's episode because I'm going to explain why your data has been breached and why it's not your fault. So, what are you supposed to do when a big corporation leaks your data rather than your own negligence? Yeah, you can't really do anything about it. Some people say that you should be careful with who you trust with that information, but the problem is that some of the most trusted companies will find their names on the list of the biggest data breaches in history. So, in today's episode, let's explore the top 10 biggest data breaches in history. And let's kick things off with one of those trusted brands, with 10th place being Target in 2013. The Target breach exposed credit and debit card information of approximately 40 million customers, along with the personal information of another 70 million customers. The attackers gained access to Target's network by exploiting credentials stolen from a third party vendor, and they installed malware onto point of sale systems, or POS, allowing them to capture card data during transactions. The attackers first targeted a third-party HVAC vendor for Target. And by the way, an HVAC system are usually systems like air conditioning or in-house climate controllers. And then with these systems, they were able to steal network credentials and gain access to Target's network through a phishing attack. And once they did that, they were able to install malware on these point of sale systems, and the malware captured card data of customers in real time, and the data was exfiltrated and sold to customers on the black market. In ninth place, we have MySpace in 2016. I know this is a serious issue, but seriously, if you have relevant digital information being stored on MySpace in 2016, bro, you need to climb out from whatever rock in the ground you're hiding under. But anyways, in May of 2016, MySpace, which was once, like 20 years ago, a leading social network platform, it experienced a breach of data that exposed personal information for approximately 360 million accounts, which is roughly the population of the entire United States. And the stolen data included usernames, emails, addresses, and passwords. And the attackers used old and unprotected databases. It's MySpace, which had not been adapted, adequately secured and adapted to the platform's popularity and its decrease in use. So how it worked was attackers targeted the old and unsecured databases that had not been updated with the newest and strongest security systems, and this allowed them to use password cracking techniques like brute force attacks or dehashing algorithms and accessing stored passwords. And it really showcased the need for like updating and keeping up with the latest security as you continue forward with these legacy systems. In eighth place, we have LinkedIn in 2021. So in June of 2021, LinkedIn experienced a data breach where approximately 700 million users had their user data posted for sale on a hacking forum. And the exposed information included full names, emails, addresses, phone numbers, workplace information, and much more. And the result of such a breach was data scraping and access of privately stored information, and attackers collected data from other publicly visible profiles once they had access to the internal information of private profiles. So the way that attackers were able to do it was they scraped data from websites by going through the HTML of web pages, which sounds terrible to me. But anyways, in the case, they used automated tools to do it for them to scrape the publicly available information for profiles. And while it wasn't exactly involving direct hacking of LinkedIn security, the scraping still resulted in unauthorized collection and sale of huge amounts of very potentially valuable user data. In seventh, we have a pretty big one, and one that I vividly remember, the Equifax breach in 2017. So if you are below the age of 25 and you're still happy in life, you probably don't know what Equifax is. And so I'll tell you, it's one of the largest credit reporting agencies. And what these agencies does is they make sure that if you miss a payment, your life is over. And what happened was they suffered a security breach in September 2017. It affected 147.9 million consumers with sensitive information such as, little things like social security numbers and birthdays, addresses, driver license, all being exposed. And another 290,000 credit card numbers were also compromised. And the breach was due to a lack of patching done in their systems. And this vulnerability was in Apache Struts, which is a web application framework. And this vulnerability allowed attackers to execute arbitrary code on the servers, and it gave them direct access to the sensitive information being stored on the servers. And by exploiting this flaw, attackers were able to gain control and extract all the vast amounts of information, of personal information. In sixth place, we have Adult Friend Finder in 2016. So the breach of Adult Friend Finder was carried out by a hacker group known as the Dark Overlord. And they exploited vulnerabilities in companies' web applications to gain access to the databases. Hackers use SQL injection, a very common one, to attack and retrieve user information, including usernames, passwords, emails, addresses, and the dates of visit. And many passwords were stored in plain text or very weakly hashed, and it made it very easy for the attackers to take and use all the stolen information. So how the SQL injection works is that it's a code injection attack and exploits vulnerabilities in software by maliciously inserting SQL statements into an entry field. And what this does is it kind of dumps the database contents to the attacker. It's like you put in a bunch of random information that the computer wasn't expecting to be inputted there, and it kind of spits everything back out at you. And this allowed them to access and manipulate databases, gain unauthorized access to information, and use the SQL injection to exfiltrate the data out of the databases. In fifth place, we have Facebook in 2019. So the Facebook breach was not a direct hack, but rather the result of third-party developers improperly storing user data on Amazon's cloud servers. And these third-party developers left 450 million records of information publicly accessible just due to poor security practices. And this exposed data included account names, Facebook IDs, and details about user interactions. And this breach highlighted the risk of associating with third-party developing platforms. So these attackers used Facebook user data on AWS, Amazon Web Services, and they used the cloud servers that didn't have proper access controls. And they were able to create an internet connection and access the data. And this kind of breach really shows why, if you have such valuable information and such a large quantity of information like Facebook does, you really have to be careful on how people you don't know are using that data. In fourth place, we have Marriott International in 2018. So the breach affecting Marriott International was interesting because it was initiated by Chinese hackers that were a state-sponsored group. And the way they did it is the attackers first compromised the Starwood reservation system in 2014, 2 years before Marriott acquired Starwood. And then with the use of remote access Trojans, they gained persistent access into the network, and they were an APT, or Advanced Persistent Threat. And once inside, they exfiltrated data and they collected information on 500 million guests, including names, mailing addresses, phone numbers, email addresses, passport numbers, and payment card informations. So obviously, these are remote access Trojans, or RATs, were malware programs that provided access into the systems. And once they were installed onto the Starwood network, they allowed entry into Marriott's network because of how they were acquired by Marriott. And this allowed for so much exfiltration of so much data over such a long period of time. In third place, we have First American Financial Corporation in 2019. So the breach was caused by a design flaw in the website, which allowed unauthorized access to financial records. And attackers discovered that a portion of the website stored 885 million records that were in sequentially numbered format. So by manipulating the URL parameters, attackers could access documents without authentication. And I'll give you like a little summary of what that is. So basically, in your URL, you have your personal information that is being given to you. And let's just say it's like user 100. What they did is they typed in user 101, and they just saw the next person's information. 102, 103. It's ridiculous. I don't know how they got away with it, and I don't know who did not properly prevent that attack. But there's some pretty serious work that need to be done. Anyways, these documents stolen included bank account numbers, financial statements, mortgages, tax records, social security numbers, wire transactions, and driver's licenses. In second place, we have Aadhaar in 2018. The Aadhaar breach was due to a vulnerability in a state-owned utilities company system, and attackers exploited the weak security measures to gain access into the database. And what this did is it exposed names, addresses, photos, phone numbers, email addresses of 1.1 billion Indian citizens. And the method of the exploitation hasn't been publicly disclosed yet because it was a government breach, but it showed the significant gaps in security infrastructure when protecting such a large amount of sensitive data. So the breach involved the state-owned utilities company network, and attackers identified weaknesses in the specific system's security protocols, which included a lack or insufficient encryption, a lack of proper access controls, and unpatched software. And after that, they were able to gather 1.1 billion citizen information, which is just impossible to imagine. In first place, we have Yahoo in 2013. The Yahoo breaches were perpetuated by a state actor, or what we believe to be a state-sponsored actor that has been linked to Russia. So the attackers used techniques involving forged cookies, which we'll explain later, but it allowed them to bypass password authentication. And by exploiting this vulnerability, these cookies impersonated legitimate users, and it enabled them to steal data such as names, email addresses, phone numbers, birthdays, hash passwords, and security questions and answers. So forged cookies are creating vulnerabilities in web application session management. So cookies are like small pieces of data stored on a user's device that allows them to like keep the user logged in. And the attackers in the Yahoo breach created fake cookies that impersonated such users. And they did this by obtaining the cookie signing key from Yahoo servers, which allowed them to generate cookies that the servers would like accept as authentic cookies. And with these, they could access any user account without a password. So after all this, the attackers of Yahoo can now know the valuable information that the most common Yahoo search is Google. I'm kidding, of course. So if you want to learn about the real bad stuff hackers can do once they have breached your information, check out the rest of my channel. Thank you for your time and thank you for watching.